G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Trewin. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Cassandra Sasso from Wander, based in Sydney, Australia. Thanks for your time today, Cassandra.
Thanks, Troy. Good to be here.
Let's start with how we know each other. I am avidly following a lot of crowd funds. I've got over 200 IMs or investment memorandums I collect like a bowerbird because I like studying them, and some of the businesses I work with considering crowdfund, that's helpful to them. So I saw Wander come up for their crowdfund late 2023 on virtual, and then immediately jumped over to LinkedIn to start stalking you to get you on the cast.
Sounds good. I hope, the virtual's done a few really good crowdfunds at the moment, so I'm sure it's a gold mine for you.
Yeah. Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
So Wander is on a mission to really redefine how we travel. We're transforming our relationships with the things that really matter the most, our planet, our communities, and ourselves. So not only are we trying to change how we travel, we're essentially trying to change how we live. And to do this, we're creating a network of modular, design-led, eco-aware wander pods or cabins in breathtaking nature-based locations. So we source premium sites in high-demand regional destinations, lease the land with a revenue share model, and remotely manage the operation. So you can almost think about Wander like an exploded hotel. Instead of 100 rooms in one location, we're creating one room in 100 locations.
Yeah, great. I love it. And I love the brand. The website looks amazing. The sites, the pods that as you said, design led, so they look great. I think I'll have to check them out. Are you just in Australia, and which states and territories are you in Australia?
At the moment, just in Australia. Our first location opened in the Scenic Room about an hour and a half from Brisbane in Queensland. And our second location opened on Kangaroo Island in South Australia.
Oh, great. There's an awesome distillery over there, which I'm sure you know about, Kangaroo Island Spirits, John Lark.
Yes, regularly frequented.
Great. I still haven't been to King Island, but I hear it's beautiful. Sorry, Kangaroo Island.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely stunning. And I would recommend that you go for a minimum 3 to 4 nights because it is a huge place.
Yeah. And for the international audience, that's a small island just south of Adelaide in Australia. And how did you start out?
Really, to explain where Wander started, I need to take you right back. I actually started a degree in international business in a uni in Sydney, and was the first year dropout. I quickly kind of realized, I guess, that hey, if I really want to learn business, I need to get out of this lecture theatre and actually go build a business. So that's where I headed, and in the meantime, I started an interior design company. My background is in hotel interior design, and for the first 10 years prior to Wander, that's what I was doing. I was working with other design firms, hotel operators. Had a previous company with a business partner working directly with developers, and I guess it was during that time that I really thought something was missing. We were frustrated at the industry's lack of commitment to sustainable, low-scale development, frustrated at the lack of commitment to giving back and contributing to regional economies in a meaningful way. And we found that all too often there was a really transactional approach to high-volume hospitality. So, like all good ideas, I mean, it came down to a bit of a pizza and wine night where we thought, let's do our own hotel. We thought, where do we put this hotel? How are we going to pay for it? How are we going to be different? And then we thought, well, there's plenty of people around Australia with spectacular land. Let's lease the land, and that can be our first contribution to regional economies. Let's stick to our expertise of designing a great room and place these rooms all around the country, basically creating a network like the exploded hotel I was talking about. The idea is, wouldn't it be cool if you could travel around the country with a consistent and quality brand, but your landscape is changing and the local businesses that support that guest experience are changing? And that's how Wander was born. in a very quick 10-year nutshell.
Yeah. So what year did you start Wander and how old were you?
The idea started around 2018, 19. So I was 31, 32. But we weren't operational until December of 21, just over 2 years ago.
Yep. Right. And good timing with COVID, I guess.
Yeah, that was a really good tailwind for our launch. That was exactly the time where we were allowed out of our house again and could cross at least state borders. So we that was a nice good timing.
And maybe just to close out how you started, what did you end up doing with the interior design business? And did you have a team in that business?
I exited that business, so we I had a business partner in both of these companies, and that was, I guess, how we transitioned from you know our previous careers to what we're both doing now. We One of the challenges was that we were splitting ourselves 50-50 and across two companies, and we found that no one was doing anything well. We were just too divided. So we ended up splitting it the other way. He took the interior design business and I took Wanda.
Right. Fantastic. And do you have some key numbers to share to illustrate the growth of the business over the last 5 years?
Yeah, so our first year we did 580K in revenue, and in the second year we reached 1.25 million. So it was a really good, obviously, growth period for us to show proof of concept, market traction, all the right things. Yeah, we're really happy with those numbers and on track to increase another 20% this year.
That's great. And how many sites did you have for that last, what, 1.2 million revenue? Was that only two sites?
Two sites, yeah.
Wow,
Yep,
that's phenomenal. Yeah.
yep.
What about number of full-time equivalent team members you started with and where you're at now?
In the beginning, it was just two of us, and not even full time. It was definitely a side hustle. It was after hours. It was weekends. Now we're a core team of six.
Yep.
Um,
Great.
yeah,
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
yeah, that's a good question, and I can't say that there is any real distinct moments. And I think if you are really strong, you have a really strong and ambitious vision, then you may never feel like you've completely achieved what you've set out to do. I think success is never a linear journey, and our minds are always interested in new ways to improve. But in saying that, there are so many moments along the way that really kept the wind in our sails. Whether it's securing funding, revenue growth, launching a new site, or winning an award. These are all bricks in the wall, which add to that feeling that you can go on.
What does success look like to you?
I think it's the knowledge and satisfaction that the work that you're doing really matters. Sure, there's always targets that you want to reach. There's financial KPIs, return on investment, all that's still there, and of course, very important. But I get much more of a kick out of when, say, we receive a great review from a particular guest that they've had the most amazing time with us, and I can share that with the team. I think that, that feeling in your gut that's pretty powerful.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
I think, yeah, I would recommend to marketing a fast-growing business is to really not underestimate the power of repetition. You're new to everybody. My brand is not new to me, so I at times feel like I was getting bored and over saying the same thing, but I forgot that it's new to everyone else. So just keep at it.
Yep. And I rank customer service under marketing. I think it's a marketing activity, keeping your customers happy. And you use the Net Promoter Score to measure customer loyalty. Do you know your number?
Definitely do. It's one of our key metrics. We're at 72 last quarter and averaging about 70 for the year. So we're pretty happy with that.
That's phenomenal, Cassandra. For the audience, it's not a percentage, it's a positive or negative number. I'll include a link through a blog post I wrote on how it's calculated. But anything over even 30 is good. Over 50 is great. And over 70 is phenomenal. So well done.
Thanks.
How did you fund the business? I know we'll talk a little bit about sort of crowdfunding in a minute, but those before that, how were you funding?
In the beginning, everything was coming out of my own pocket. Although in saying that, that ran out pretty quickly. The next ask was a family round, which they kindly obliged. And given that we're building pods, we are a very capital intensive business. So we started to look for funding even when we were pre-revenue, still in concept stage, which looking back on it was always going to be a really tough ask. And, we did actually receive some offers during that time, but declined them because it just didn't feel right. So we took a step back to hopefully take a few steps forward, even though it may have been the harder road. Luckily, we were lucky enough to receive some really large government grants
Yep.
totaling in 1.8 million, which funded our first two sites and enabled us to get into market, prove the concept, optimize product market fit. So those grants were probably the single biggest help in our journey so far.
Let's talk a little bit about the crowdfund. So you closed your crowdfund in October 2023, last year, and maybe tell the audience your experience of that way of raising money and how much you raised, etc.
Yeah, sure. I mean, first off, the whole campaign is a very intense process. We obviously did a lot of research and due diligence pre crowdfund to see if it was the right fit for us, and we obviously came to the conclusion that yes, we had the right brand for it. And we wanted to do this for two reasons. The crowdfund for two reasons. Primary reason is to help fund the next stage of growth. And also as a branding and marketing exercise, which has paid off in huge ways. We raised just under $1 million in the campaign, but since then, and the bigger benefit is that it's opened just so many more doors and conversations.
Yep. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I've been involved with two crowdfunds, one in New Zealand in late 2018 and one in March 2023, a distillery over in Western Australia. They raised 2.7 million in 19 hours. I was on that board for about 4 years. So yeah, I think,
Well done.
yeah, well, James, the founder, did a terrific job with all the marketing and the brand and the videos, etc., and just threw himself at it. So, and the whole team did a phenomenal job. But I do recommend the audience to consider crowdfunding. I know at the moment with the state of the economy, etc., things have changed a little bit, but it's still a viable funding option to look at. And we'll link through. I've done a podcast on that, about a 10-minute podcast on crowdfunding. And if anyone wants to have a look at that folder I've got of all the IMs, just send me an email if they're interested in crowdfunding. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Short answer is yes. I love what we're doing. It's a really fun job, most of the time. I think if we had plenty of funding right from the outset, though, we would have tripped up. We would have focused on speed and growth when in the early stages. I think it was more important to take the time to learn and understand your customer better and how to optimize operations so that when the money does come in, you're scaling the right things. Otherwise you'd just be adding fuel to problems which are harder to unravel later. So in the long scheme, as even though it's painful to be underfunded sometimes, you got to take the opportunity when it's there to really get to know your customer better.
Yeah, totally agree. Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it? That can be across Wander or the interior design business.
Anything? Yeah, I don't really think there's a single most stressful point. Once you've overcome one thing, for sure, there's another thing around the corner. No matter what stage of growth you're in, the stress is perceived in the context of the time. But I think one of the biggest ongoing challenges is to be able to manage your own health and mindset.
Yeah.
You can almost track it to the day that when my mental health starts to go down the drain, and I stop looking after myself, other things in the business start to fall. The team starts to disengage, momentum weakens, everything just sort of stops caring, and it's a really dangerous place to be in. So I think getting a good understanding of what you personally need so that you have the energy to always show up as your best is the most important.
Yeah. What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Understanding how people work. It's a tough one, and I have a feeling it's a common one. I mean, previously I've just worked for myself. So this is the first time I've really had to learn how to manage and lead a team properly. And that can be, really hard in a new business. A lot of the time you don't know where you're going yourself. And you're asking everyone to follow you. So, but when you do get the leadership right, I think you can really see how much of a difference it makes. So, but it's, something that I have to constantly work on. I don't think I've nailed it yet.
Yeah, no, definitely. As I say quite often, I believe people are the hardest thing in small business and your greatest asset. We also believe that leaders and managers in small businesses, 5 to 30 team members, don't invest enough in their own training on how to become what we call a kick-ass manager in our program. Uh, all those that do, a lot of the material out there is just shit.
Yes, there is a lot of shit out there,
Yeah.
but you can sift, and then you do find gold nuggets in that shit. So that's
Yes.
good.
Have you come across the Manager Tools podcast?
No, I haven't actually.
I'll send you that one. Hopefully Mark won't listen to this, the founder. I'm going to have him back on soon, but they've got a shit website and just looks terrible. But the content is gold. They've been going 17 years, 2005, 19 years, coming up to 20 years. Mark and Mike exited day to day last year. It's the best material I've come across to develop yourself or your own, your managers as managers. I'll shoot that through to you. What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
Managing my impatience. I think even if in reality or retrospect we're growing really quickly, sometimes when you're in the thick of it and you're limited by resources, it feels anything but fast.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
They have a really hands-on and live experience right in front of you. Leaps forward can be huge, and it's really easy to see the outcome of your work. So it's extremely rewarding.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Always having the belief that it's possible. There is a way. I don't think you necessarily start out like that, and I think if you want to grow a business, then you have to you have to believe it's possible.
The number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
The discipline to focus on the work that will move the dial the most. I'm a perfectionist. I think a lot of business owners are, and it's really easy to get distracted in the wrong details that won't make a big enough difference to your business. So you need to understand where your time is most valuable and either delegate or delete the rest.
That's it. Yeah, I'm a reformed perfectionist. Sometimes it still breaks out, but yeah, it's
Oh, tell me how to do that.
oh, it's just got to let go of the perfection, the detail, and yeah. And I mean, I set my week up, my quarter, and say, here are the handful of things I got to push forward or substantially complete or substantially move forward, and then cut it down to the week and the day, and just right. That's it. Don't procrastinate, and just don't go over the top on making everything perfect. Just get it out the door.
Exactly. Yes.
Are you a small business owner who is ready to take your professional growth to the next level? Sign up to the Grow a Small Business weekly newsletter. This is your go-to email every Friday and will take about 2 minutes to read. Join the Grow a Small Business community who, like you, are investing in their professional development. Each week, we curate valuable resources, whether it's expert advice, books, podcasts, industry insights, or actionable strategies. We've got you covered. Leave your email at growasmallbusiness.com/weekly. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
In growing our team, I really made the conscious decision to hire more qualified people for less time, with the view that the business will be able to grow into them more and more. I didn't see the value in having a smaller team where perhaps we're all full time, but everyone was trying to be a jack of all trades. The team to me is one of the company's most valuable assets. It's a significant investment. So having the right smarts in on your side, and the same unwavering passion to build something is really crucial. I often heard the phrase to hire slowly, fire fast. And I didn't quite understand the value and truth of that until probably more recently. Having the wrong people in your team can do a lot of damage that you're not really even aware of until perhaps after they've left. And I think trusting yourself to make those judgment calls is really important. And it's one of the hardest parts of the job.
What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Yeah, see, I mean, we all work remotely, so it's really easy for the culture to drop off, and I have to make a conscious decision to keep trying to foster it. The informal, social, off the record kind of catch ups help enormously, and it reminds everyone, I think, that we're all still human with normal lives and normal problems outside of work, and that understanding that helps build the trust. And I honestly wish we had more of that. Although I do appreciate working from home and the flexibility it brings.
And tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Yeah, it's really hard to handle balance. Yeah, I think you just have to realize, like I was saying before, like understanding what you need to get the most out of yourself, and make sure that you don't, that's a part of the job just as much as the daily grind is. It's if you're down, then everything else will fall. So making sure you do get that balance is pretty crucial.
Yeah. How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
I'd like to say quite a bit, although you can always do more. But I think you need to start with both personal and professional development from day one, and keep doing it forever. I love a podcast, I love an audiobook, but really, invest the time in whatever floats your boat. If it's not serving you, don't waste your time pushing shit uphill.
Yeah.
But yeah, personal development and professional development is equally important.
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
Yeah, we've only recently established an advisory board actually in the last 6 months, and it's been extremely valuable for us. I was really specific about what I wanted, the profile of each person of what I was looking for, and most importantly, I wanted the board to be really diversified and make sure that each person was being selected for their specific genius zone. Some of them not even in our industry.
Yep.
So that's been the biggest, a really valuable decision for us that we've made.
And how often do you meet, and do you have a chair of that board?
We don't necessarily have a chair, but I meet them depending on what's going on at the time. Some more frequently than others, but no less than once a month.
Now, you've exited a business. Any advice for the audience listening on exiting one day?
Oh, it, it can be stressful as the rest of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to get it over with as quickly as possible.
All right, Cassandra, on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Getting over your imposter syndrome, but seriously, you need to get over it and get on with the job. Stop limiting yourself with the idea that's not even real.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. It's about finding your edge by delighting people at times when they least expect it. And I think it's an absolute must for any business in any industry. I've given a copy to everyone in my team, so I keep listening to it. It's got lots of little good nuggets.
The restaurateur in New York.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Donald Miller had him on his podcast. Donald Miller from Storybrand. Not sure if you've read that book. It's a great book. And yeah, some great stories there where an example was a family from Brazil were dining. It's a really nice, fine dining restaurant. It was their last night. And one of the wait staff overheard one of the family members saying, "Oh, it's a pity we ran out of time to try a New York hot dog." And so they surprised them, delighted them by going out, getting a hot dog and serving that up under the tray, etc. And, all those stories they create. I'm not sure if that's in the book, but I heard them talk about that on the cast.
It is, and the book is filled with all these like little examples like that where, okay, that's explained in the context of a fine dining restaurant, but how do you apply that to your own industry? Because there's always room for delight.
Yep. Any great podcasts or online learning tools used for your own professional development?
Anything Brené Brown. This is probably more personal than professional development, but the two are so intertwined. So yeah, going for Brené.
One tool you recommend to help grow a small business?
sleep. I think it's it's better than anything you'll find online.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 5 years ago?
Do you realize what the fuck you've just done?
Yeah. Thanks very much for your time today, Cassandra. Really enjoyed our chat, and congratulations to you, your co-founder, and the team. Wonderful success in the last couple of years, tipping over the $1 million top line mark, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of the beautifully designed and positioned pods around Australia and beyond in the next few years. So I look forward to seeing how big the business gets and having you back on.
Excellent. Thanks, Troy.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.